Tell us something new.
Dom Hemingway.
So we know now already what you think because of the pause and the way you said the film title.
Do you?
Yes. So I would say, we haven't discussed this, but I would say you wanted to like it quite a lot, but actually you were incredibly disappointed. That's just my summation on the basis of the way you paused for breath.
It's a funny thing. You know that they say that when people have been married to a certain amount of time, that they can finish each other's sentences. And they.
I can't do your review. I'm just sensing the essence of it.
So what did you just do?
I sensed the essence of it.
Okay. All right. So
you do the review then.
Jude Law is Dom Hemingway, who we meet in.
God blimey.
We meet Core Blimey Governor in full flow, doing a fruity and foul-mouthed, and it is a foul-mouthed movie about himself and the most important part of himself.
And he wears Core Blimey trousers, but not in that opening scene.
That's right, but not in Accounts of Light. He wears Core Blimey trousers at Her Majesty's pleasure. He comes out of prison after 12 years of having kept stum, because that's what he does, because he is a bloke. And he goes down the pub with Richard E. Grant, who it's always a pleasure to see Richard E. Grant on any screen at all, particularly when he's propping up a bar in a pub, because it puts us in mind of some of Richard E. Grant's finest work. Here is a clip of Jude Law and Richard E. Grant in Dom Hemingway.
He's expecting you in France, you know.
Mr. Fontaine. He knows what you did for him. Mr. Fontaine's a man who doesn't forget his friends.
I'm his friend now.
You did right by him. You'll get your due.
12 years, Dickie. 12 years of my life. I missed a lot doing right by him. Missed Keith's funeral. Missed out on my Evelyn's childhood.
My daughter. You go to see her yet?
Working up the marbles.
You've had 12 years to work up the
I
marbles.
just made bolognese out of her stepfather's face. As if she didn't hate me enough.
Yeah.
And we did.
It's the famous which
you
good
can
lady
go back to
Erin
that
Dawes.
again.
She likes that very much.
Yes.
Yep.
I've tried to stop doing that, actually, since you told me off about it. So anyway, he comes out of prison after 12 years of keeping his mouth shut, and then he has to go off to meet this, incredibly dangerous guy who's been basically
Who isn't dangerous,
from whom he wants his money, and then stuff happens. Here's the problem. If you're going to write, really abrasive, in-your-face, sweary dialogue, like, for example, the sort of stuff that's done if you look at a movie like, did you ever see 44-Inch Chest?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So you remember that Lee Mallis and David
John
Sinto.
Hurt came in, I think.
He did, absolutely. And John Hurt talked. Thank you. It was exactly John Hurt came into the interview. And what happened was we played a clip from 44-Inch Chest and we cut it because it was absolutely sweary-tastic, and we were on between 2 and 4, school run time, and the rest of it. And John Hurt said, I can't listen to this because everything's gone. The rhythm of the thing is gone. And he did a very, very intelligent explanation of the sort of Chaucerian level of swearing that was in 44-Inch Chest, and why it was all to do with the rhythms of the words, and it was all to do with the inventive use of swearing, because it's not true that just, obscenity is just that. It is possible for people to use obscenity in a way which is incredibly inventive. In the same way as, for example, in The Cook, the Thief, the absence of obscenity is the thing which is so striking, because you think you must have had your ears assaulted by all manner of stuff, but actually you haven't. And you need that. Or you need... I'm not a huge fan of the kind of the Pinteresque gangster speak. I've always thought that the kind of what this ends up like is kind of late second-rate pastiche, late period Pinter, which is basically some obnoxious guy who doesn't give you a good reason to be absolutely fascinated and thrilled and interested in him, just storming around, swearing at everybody in a way that makes you think, what I really need is to find a way into this character, to find somewhere to get into it. And in fact, I just find him as annoying as everybody else does. The other problem is that Richard E. Grant's character is set up in a way when you think, great, Richard E. Grant's going to be able to sparkle and he's going to be able to do that Richard E. Grant thing, because there is no one that does louche quite as well as Richard E. Grant. I'm a huge fan of him. I think he's a great screen presence.
Louche is a great word.
It is, and that is what he's, he's louche. But he actually ends up being completely silent, as does everybody else, by the character of Dom Hemingway. And the problem is, Jude Law is a very good performer, and, I think he's a much more versatile actor than perhaps sometimes he's given credit for. But it's all to do with the script. It's all to do with the script. There's I think he's on stage doing Shakespeare quite soon. There's a famous
Henry V, I think.
It's fine,
Yeah.
and there's a story that has been repeated, millions of times about this stage actor doing a terrible version of Hamlet, and he's really awful, and he's really awful, and he's really awful, and the guy in the front row keeps saying, "Boo, boo, boo, get off!" And finally, he comes to the front of the stage, says, "Don't blame me, I didn't write this rubbish." And there is the thing about it all comes down to the material that you're given, and I think the problem with Dom Hemingway comes down to the writing in the end. There wasn't enough of a way in to find that character interesting. It wasn't like a film, for example, like Bronson, in which it's a similarly kind of rage-infested character, but you find a way into him, and the performance is physical and all the rest of it. Actually, what it is you think you're really obnoxious and really loud and shouty and sweary, and I wish you'd stop talking. I just wish you'd stop talking, and I probably wish you'd just stop talking about now. And later on, all that shouty, sweary stuff gives way to sentimentality, at which point I don't care, because with any of those things, in order for any of them to work, no matter how abrasive the dialogue is, there has to be a way into the character. And that's the thing with 44-inch Chest. I mean, blimey, Charlie, that's an abrasive film. But you do find yourself being pulled in because of the way the language works. I just thought, in the case of Dom Hemingway, it was like being yelled at in a pub for a long time, after which the guy who was yelling at me in the pub became a bit of a sentimental old drunk. And I was like, okay, not really.